Org.
Tonight on Greater Boston, immigration rights groups are suing Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for the relocation program, as he calls it, that sent 2 planes of migrants from Texas to Martha's Vineyard. I'll talk with one of the attorneys behind the suit, Harvard Law School's Ron Sullivan. Then later, instead of throwing food away at the end of the night, the app Too Good To Go helps restaurants and other food suppliers sell leftovers at a discount. 2 local participants from a legendary bar and restaurant and a new bakery, they both joined me. When 2 planes carrying migrants landed with no notice in Martha's Vineyard in September, didn't take long for Florida Governor and potential 2024 presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis to proudly take credit for defrauding nearly 50 people into boarding these planes with false promises of jobs and housing. The stunt was part of Florida's so-called relocation program, as they call it, which sends migrants to sanctuary destinations with $12 million in funding taken from federal coronavirus aid. It's obviously sadistic, but a coalition of immigrants' rights groups argue it's also illegal. The group filed a lawsuit against DeSantis and his Department of Transportation in the Southern District of Florida on Thursday, calling the relocation program, as they said, unconstitutional. And one of the lawyers on the case followed up in a statement calling it, quote, nothing more than an expensive political stunt designed to feed DeSantis' political ambitions on a diet of xenophobic, state-sponsored harassment. Anybody disagree? Well, that lawyer is Ron Sullivan, who's also a Harvard Law professor, director of the university's Criminal Justice Institute. We'll also get Ron's thoughts in a minute on Trump's call to suspend the U.S. Constitution. It's good to see you, Ron. It's been a while.
Good seeing you as well.
What's the basis of the suit? What are you arguing?
Well, twofold. First is field preemption. The second is equal protection. So field preemption is a concept that states the following. In certain areas, certain fields, the U.S. government has exclusive authority over it, and states can't go sticking their nose into these areas. They are preempted from doing so by the federal government.
Immigration is one of them, you argue.
Immigration is one of them. The Supremacy Clause of the Constitution says that whatever the federal government is doing there, it wins out. So that's the first. Second,
well, let's stay with the first for a second. I'll get before you get equal protection. But individual states do things like say that if you want to be a public employee, a cop or a teacher, you have to be a citizen. Why can a state do that? I think that's legal.
Yeah,
and not do what DeSantis did.
Yeah, so certain areas are exclusively occupied by the federal government, like moving people around from state to state. There are certain areas where it will be so utterly chaotic, like Martha's Vineyard, that if you allow each state to do that, then it would just make a mockery of the whole system.
How about the equal protection argument?
So equal protection argument is note that not all migrants were chosen for this program, but only Latin American migrants. And so we made an equal protection argument as well that we think is well justified.
Who are you representing? Who are the plaintiffs?
So we are representing 3 groups. So these are groups that represent migrants. We're not representing the individuals themselves. And the theory here, I think that's what you're about to ask.
I am about to ask. Thank you very much. Saved a couple of seconds. Go ahead.
And the theory here is that these groups have had to expend extraordinary resources dealing with this stunt. Hence, they have what we call standing to come into court and ask the court to order DeSantis to stop.
So is that what you're looking for, a declaration that he stop and not do it anymore, or financial damages? What are you looking for here?
2 things. So an injunction and a declaration. The injunction means stop it, and a declaration says that this is unconstitutional. So we're looking for both remedies.
You know, as you well know, there are other lawsuits pending, civil lawsuits pending, Lawyers for Civil Rights, based right here. Is suing, I think, DeSantis, but at least some of the major players around defrauding people, the bait and switch with that woman, Perla, I think her name was, who was telling them making one representation and doing it. Do these things intersect, or are they all on separate tracks?
Well, they're on separate tracks. The one you're describing was filed here in Massachusetts and arguing different grounds, and we are important case, but just different.
So if it turns out that you believe that they're violating the Constitution by doing this, I may get my numbers wrong, but I think Governor Abbott in Texas has sent somewhere in the neighborhood of 10,000 people around the country, a couple of busloads to Kamala Harris's residence, the vice president's residence. I think it's 2,500 people to New York City. And I believe almost all people of color, almost all from Latin American countries. arguably, I know this is not your litigation, but just so I understand it, is Abbott committing the same offenses or violating similar laws to what you argue DeSantis is doing?
Absolutely, 100%. Someone in Texas can take our briefs, change the names, and it's the same violation. Hopefully, our briefs can be used as a template over in Texas as well.
Yeah, is anything like this ever been done before? I mean, you know, it's pretty amazing. This is a political question, not a legal question. He does this, which, those my words, sadistic, not yours, and your word is illegal or unconstitutional, and he's portrayed as the moderate alternative to Donald Trump in the Republican Party process for the nomination for president.
Absolutely scary. I will adopt your word, sadistic. You don't treat other fellow human beings like this. It's just wrong morally, it's wrong constitutionally, and they have to stop it. And I'm going to do my particular tool set is constitutional law, so that's what I'm going to use. But it is horrific. And
has there been? I interrupted myself for a change, as opposed to a guest. Has anything like this ever been done in any of these anti-immigrant waves in American history, or is this the first of its kind?
I think this is the first of its kind.
Do you also, another political question, you know, a question here, as you know, question 4, that would have a yes vote, which is what it was, ultimately allowed a law giving undocumented people the right to have driver's license stayed in place. I'm not sure there would have been that vote a couple of years ago. Do you think eyes are opening? I mean, Donald Trump, first thing he mentioned when he came down the escalator, as we all know, was they're rapists, they're murderers, that sort of thing. And it really propelled him, it seems to me. Do you think people are learning more and are more tolerant and understanding about the lives of people like these?
I think they are. They see that these are concrete individuals who are impacted. And I tell you what, just really quickly, I was so proud of the way the people in Martha's Vineyard responded. Incredible.
Incredible. And you know, and what they wanted to do, they wanted to paint a picture. These are these elite rich people who don't give a damn about low-income people, particularly people who don't look like them.
Right.
And it was exactly
just the opposite.
Yep. So you also head of the Criminal Justice Institute, and you're a big-time criminal lawyer in your current and former life. I'm sure you know this guy in Bexar County, the sheriff in Bexar County in Texas, says crimes have been committed. I don't know if he's identified Bexar County in Texas. I'm not sure if he's identified. Now, playing sort of the role of half-assed lawyer, which I was in my former life, I don't know what the statutes say in Florida or Texas or Massachusetts or even the federal government. Well, I did look up the kidnapping statute. We can talk about human trafficking, kidnapping, false imprisonment. I mean, I understand you have to work with precise definitions. It seems to me it comes pretty close to all those things. You tell people something that is untrue to get them to do something, and then you essentially kidnap them and deposit them somewhere else under pretty potentially adverse circumstances, despite how good the people in Martha's Vineyard were. Am I way off or no?
No, you are spot on. And every time I see you, I am absolutely impressed by your legal knowledge.
Please don't do that.
You still remember. But
no,
but seriously, it's fraud and all sorts of species of fraud and criminal fraud. I mean, there's intent, there's the action, things happen in that particular jurisdiction, conspiracy. I mean, there are a lot of potential charges.
Well, let me put you on the spot. In light of the fact there are 3 states involved, not to mention the federal government, Rachel Rollins is going to be sitting there on Thursday. This is potentially, I don't know what she's doing, but this is potentially something for a U.S. attorney in one of those jurisdictions to look into, no?
Oh, absolutely, because when you're talking about 3 states, that becomes interstate activity, and that's the province of the federal government.
Can we change gears just for, by the way, the status of this is just filed, so obviously there's a little bit of time before we know what direction we're going.
Exactly.
Okay, fine. Can we talk to another thing, since you are a constitutional guy? Trump outdid himself the other day. He goes on Truth Social and he posts, he's referencing incorrectly, as always, a moderation decision around Hunter Biden that was made by Twitter prior to the 2022 election. And here's what he posts. This is Trump. A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. I'm almost embarrassed to ask you the question. What was your reaction to this? And what do you say to the fact that maybe a handful of Republican office holders have criticized him. And at least the initial evidence is he's not going to lose a lot of voters who swear by him because he loves the Second Amendment of the Constitution, but he wants to throw the rest of the Constitution in the trash.
I mean, my reaction was twofold. One, absolutely just dumbfounded that a former United States president said, let's throw out part of the Constitution. And second, my second reaction was just shame, and maybe partly anger too, that there was not a chorus of voices from all sides that said, this is wrong, stop it now.
I had the exact same reaction while I was asking you if you felt there was a bit better environment vis-a-vis immigrants, and I was using as just one example, admittedly it is Massachusetts, but around question 4, but the absence of an uproar where people say this is the final straw. And I know we've all said it's the final straw 1,000 times, but I have to say, even with Trump, I never thought I'd see him post words like, let's toss the Constitution in this case. And the end of the sentence, which wasn't spoken, has put me back in the White House. It's a little disturbing that there's not an uprising over this, is it not? The
scary thing is politicians seem not to be making principled decision anymore. It's all a calculus on who brings them votes, and that's scary. That's scary.
Yeah, I don't know if do you read Andy Borowitz, the great satirist from New York? I think Andy Borowitz nailed it today. Here's his headline from his post: Trump calls for termination of Constitution except for the Fifth Amendment. Do you think that probably?
I love it.
That probably makes sense.
He loves the Fifth Amendment. I'd also point your viewers to the Federalist Papers and Hamilton. The final safety valve to protect our democracy is people of good character. There's an assumption there that people of good character will put people of good character in office, and that people of good character will behave in a certain way. If we lose that, we lose it all.
Beautifully put, Ron Sullivan. It's great to see you as always. Thanks. Good luck with your litigation.
Thank you.
Let us know. Ron Sullivan. Next up, a third of all food in the U.S. and around the world ends up in landfills. And all that waste is a major contributor to climate change, giving off 10% of all greenhouse gases. There are problems at every stage of food production and consumption, but the app Too Good To Go is working to cut back on waste from restaurants and other food suppliers and make quality food available for less at the same time. It was founded in Denmark, but now has nearly 180,000 businesses around the world signed up, including more than 270 right here in Boston. Joined now by two of the local participants. Zaid Khan is the executive chef at Fairmont Copley Plaza's home of Oak Long Bar and Kitchen, and Orhana is co-founder of the bakery and cafe Bakey in downtown Boston. Great to meet you both, gentlemen. Thanks for being here.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
So you're the new kid in town. You've been open about a year. Tell us a little bit about your place and how the app works.
So Bakey is actually a bakery that allows our guests to have pastries out of the oven. So we bake all day long.
Love that.
Each pastry that you see here on the table is actually made a few times during the day, 8 to 12 times. And then you as a guest, you walk in, you had your chocolate babka with a gooey chocolate, your cheese stick with a melting and stretching cheese. This is what I'm trying to give, because when I'm going to a bakery, I'm touching the sheet pans.
Great smell, too, by the way, right?
Thank you very much.
Okay,
this is
so
what we do.
And so what happens? At the end of the day, you have leftovers, obviously.
Yes.
And what do you do?
So we started donating the leftovers, and we did it with Women's Lunch Place on Newbury. And then we found Too Good, and Too Good To Go became our solution. And we donate less because we have less waste using Too Good. So when the day ends, we actually have 30 to 50 people standing, waiting to get their surprise bags or surprise boxes with pastries in it.
We'll talk about what might be in a minute. And there's an app for this, by the way, we should say, where people just sign up, they search in their neighborhood or wherever they're going to be, and they find a place like yours. Why do you participate in this?
It's part of our sustainability efforts. We are really trying to combat food insecurity and cut down our footprint. Everything we put in the trash has carbon emissions attached to it, so we're trying to do our bit. We are a bigger operation. We're a bit older. We've been there for 110 years.
That's a little older, yeah.
A little older. We're part of the community, and we have a lot of different avenues and outlets where we do produce waste, which we can mitigate.
What percentage do you think of your, and obviously if you care about sustainability, it's probably lower than that average I mentioned. At the end of the day, if there wasn't something like this, what percentage of food do you think is just disposed of, either composted or just to go in a landfill?
I'd say probably 10%.
Well, that's pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, we do have more avenues to recycle food, you know. We have our staff cafeteria as well, which which we do service our internal guests with. We do donate to shelters as well. We partner with Rescuing Leftover Cuisine, and they do a fantastic job. And now this is lowering that again.
Do you do this? Well, the purpose of Too Good to Go is about an anti-food waste operation, but it seems to me there are a ton of other benefits for people like you. Like what, for example?
I'm using Too Good.
Are you really?
I'm enjoying Too Good.
Why?
First of all, as a restaurant or as a bakery, I can have my shelf full all day, and at the end of the day, I can allow other guests to enjoy the food that I'm having more, like, in a lower cost. Some people
And so you
cannot
might get a
afford
new
that.
customer who might not be there otherwise, and you make a few bucks on the side.
Yep, and I'm saving money on packaging this waste. When you want to donate it, there is a whole process to do it.
I understand.
Package it, deliver it. It's a process.
So, and is there same benefit to you beyond the environmental thing, or is that the central thing?
Ours is it's less about financial. There's a certain, as you alluded to, a lack of control you have in food production, right? You know, some days can be inevitably busier than others. It's not a perfect science with how much food you can get as close as you can, but this allows you to find a second home for the overage.
Okay, so I'm trying to be high-minded in the beginning of this, like I'm not interested in the food. I am really interested in the food. Run me down from your right to left. What's in front of me there?
So this here on the right-hand side, my right-hand side, is a typical offering from our premium gold floor, Fairmont Gold. We've got a yogurt parfait here, some fruit, bacon, a croissant, some scrambled eggs. It's a 1/3 value model, so this is $21 worth of value, and the consumer gets it for $7.
This would be available for $7?
$7.
Now, again, they wouldn't know that they were getting this, but this is a typical thing after breakfast.
Yep.
What's that beautiful thing?
This is our Oak Long Byron Kitchen's famous half-baked bread. We typically have a few left over at the end of the night. To your point, you understand the science of baking. You know, a green salad. You batch heat up clam chowder for the guests, right? So there's obviously some left at the end of the day you cannot recycle. And we have a shrimp and grits on our menu. So we always have 4 cheese jalapeno grits left over at the end of the night. You package it up with some chicken breasts we've had seared off for salads, and there you are.
So what would this kind of thing go for?
$7 as well.
So it's roughly 1/3 of the price.
Yes, sir.
And you do morning and at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And how many of these surprise packages are usually available?
So we started small. We started with 3 and 3 because just to bed it in and get it going. But now as we're growing, we're starting to give away in the evenings a little bit more because we have events business as well, where there is some overage as well. Our manager in the restaurant will communicate with our events managers, and then they'll package something up. Sometimes there's short rib, there's been tenderloins, there's some good stuff.
Who's the typical customer, other than him, obviously, it sounds like? Who's the typical person who does one of these surprise bags? Again, you can do the whole thing online.
Yep.
You identify the restaurant, you type in wherever you work, your community, you see what's available, and then you just click on it and pay for it.
So we've a lot of college students, obviously. It's better than ramen. But the beauty of the app for us is it brings people who are interested in getting a deal and fighting food waste and us together. It can be very difficult to connect with your community, but this on an app allows us to connect.
Who's your typical end-of-the-day customer?
Students, neighbors that we have and know that Too Good is available with us. Ordinary people.
Can you know one of the things I know, and we're going to talk about what you're, well, actually, tell me what you've got here before I ask you the next thing.
This is our famous chocolate babka.
Does babka just mean braided? Is that what is babka?
No, it's actually yeasted cake. Came from Eastern European cakes.
God,
it started as like buns. We did it with a laminated dough, more like a croissant. And this is the chocolate babka.
Can I bite of this while we're talking about it?
Yes.
Go ahead.
You
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
And then at the end of the day, we have more people coming in. 30 to 50. We change it all day long, so I can go to the app now and increase the number of packages that I'm going to do.
What's this thing?
Which one?
What's the next thing? Keep going.
The next thing will be
taste?
spinach and cheese.
Are you
bourretta.
serious?
I'll have some after.
Okay, fine.
I'll need a bib.
Go ahead. What's this?
Spinach and cheese borekas are salads that we make in-house every day. It can be a mix of items.
And this kind of thing is also available at the end of the day if it's left over?
Yes.
Again, the surprise. You don't know what you're getting, but this is a typical sampling.
But we are trying to make it to have a piece of bread, a savory pastry, and a sweet pastry in it. And if we have salads, we add that as well.
Can you explain? Business is not my strong suit, I have to admit. But when I'm reading about this app, we talked about it on the radio a couple of weeks ago, and thinking about you guys, and then looking at why would any restaurant, business, or bakery not participate? in this program. What is the downside? Is there any?
Probably a fear that it could be a bit clunky to work with, but the app is super user-friendly. It's very easy. It allows you to flex up and down. The idea isn't to create more food, you know, when you have someone wants, you finish your service, you got 5 meals, you said you're going to have 6. The idea is not to create more. The idea is to move and flex up and down with your business volumes, and so you have control as the proprietor.
Do you know, one of the things I love about this community is there seems to be, and I know you can't generalize, but I will, a really high level of social consciousness on the part of restaurateurs. Is that, I mean, you've worked all over the world, I know, and you've worked in lots of places too. Is this unique here, or is this I mean, you from Australia, right?
Yep.
And you worked in Israel for a long time. Is it like that there?
What I'm in this, yes, but I'm seeing the shift here the last 4 or 5 years. Social consciousness is growing, the movement's moving, right? And we're part of a community here, whether it's the hotel community, the restaurant community, or whatever it might be, and it's important to participate.
Do you feel the same way? I mean, is that sort of the same mindset? I know you have a partner, but the same deal?
We have the same, we don't use Too Good in Israel, but we are trying to do the same in Israel on our own, but it's not as easy as using Too Good. Like we're doing it with our community, with our Instagram or Facebook, and we do it, and our guests know that we have those discounts daily. But here we have it easily tracked.
But the same question I asked Zaid a minute ago. I mean, I know you've only been here in operation for roughly a year, but I lived in New York and I lived in Philadelphia, admittedly a while ago. I don't remember the level and depth of involvement of people who own or are leaders in restaurants and bakeries like there is in Boston. Do you find that here? Or?
First of all, Boston was very attractive for me because of that.
Is that really true?
Yeah. We came to Boston because I told you a minute before we started that we felt like embraced by people, by chefs, by owners, other owners. There was not a fear that we will come to the same business. They helped me, they taught me. I felt this way, and it was amazing.
And the reason that big, huge box there is that's one of the ways people might pick up.
It's either bags or a box. It depends which items are inside, but we use the box as well.
So they go Too Good To Go app. They identify your place, or one of another couple hundred in Boston. They click on it, and if they get in time, they have stuff like this at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Good for the environment, good for the stomach, good for all things. Pleasure to meet you, or good luck with your work.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Oh, my goodness. Zaid Khan or Ohana. For more info, you can download the Too Good To Go app or head online to toogoodtogo.com. That's it for tonight. Please come back tomorrow. Co-founder of Black Voters Matter, Latasha Brown, joins me on Democrats' decision to end New Hampshire's long reign as the first state to hold a presidential primary, plus her last-minute thoughts on the Georgia Senate runoff, with which she's been closely involved. Plus, good news for one of my favorite causes, the 4-day work week. A BC economist joins me on what she learned from a 33-company trial run. That and more tomorrow at 7. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget Ukraine.
Hey folks, Edgar B. Herwick III here from GBH's Curiosity Desk, where you ask questions and I find answers. Today we're at the famed Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where thanks to a question from New Hampshire's Lorraine von Snydern, we are literally chasing rainbows.
My question is, why are the rainbows that I see outside after a rainstorm always a perfect arc?
Rainbows are, of course, one of nature's most charming tricks of light, and light is exactly what scientist Matthias Kohl spends his days pondering. In order for a rainbow to appear in the sky, you need 3 ingredients, so to speak: sunlight, raindrops, and you. And as Kohl explains, all 3 have to be in a very particular spot for the magic to happen.
So the sun has to be behind you.
Okay.
That's the first thing. There's sun behind you. Then there has to be water in the atmosphere in front of you. And that's usually when it rains, you get the condition, right? And then what you also want to do is you want to look at the right spot.
These positions are critical because of the two phenomena responsible for the appearance of a rainbow. A couple of old friends you might remember from middle school: refraction and reflection. Refraction is responsible for a rainbow's colors. When sunlight enters a raindrop, it bends. White light, like sunlight, is comprised of a spectrum of colored light. Now, each color is at a slightly different wavelength and bends at a slightly different angle when it enters the droplet.
All of a sudden we get the splitting of colors, where the reds and the oranges and the greens and the blues go in slightly different directions.
After the light enters the raindrop and is split into its component colors, a small portion of it reflects off the back and heads in a new direction. With each color now on a slightly different path, it refracts one more time as it's leaving the droplet and heads back down toward the Earth at a very precise angle. 40 degrees for the red, about 42 degrees for the violet, with the other colors in between. And that's just one raindrop. All of this is happening at an incredible scale, with literally billions of rays of light hitting billions of raindrops.
It happens in every raindrop. As long as it sees the ray of sun, it will do that refraction, reflection, refraction thing. But if you're not standing in the right position, you will not see this by most of the raindrops.
But if you are in the right position, that magic angle between 40 and 42 degrees, there will be raindrops galore, throwing innumerable beams of distinct red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet light right at you. And the raindrops that are at that perfect angle relative to the sun and you form a distinct shape.
All the droplets that are on this arc are going to send the light in the right direction for me to catch it.
So we have to think about it three-dimensionally, right? So it's like this.
Exactly.
And my elbow's kind of my eyes in
Your
this
elbows would be
scenario,
your
right?
eyes in the scenario, exactly.
You can think of it like a cone, with you at the point and the rainbow appearing along the circumference of the base. Now, as for why the entire circumference doesn't light up like a rainbow, well, the ground gets in the way. If you could get up high enough so that there's a lot of rain below your feet, well, Cole says, imagine you're Jack on a beanstalk.
And as he climbs up, this arc would actually shift with him, but extend further and further below and start to actually, once it's in half arc, start to arc back on itself. And as he climbs higher and higher, this arc might close. And all of a sudden you don't have an arc, but you have a circle.
A rain circle.
A rain circle. Not a rainbow anymore, a rain circle.
And if you think rain circles are cool, consider this. All of those individual raindrops that are making the rainbow that you see are unique to your position. And they're changing constantly, moment to moment. So forget about leprechauns and pots of gold. The real magic is in the science and the fact that anytime you see one, you are literally standing in the center of your own personal rainbow. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and perhaps most importantly, let me know what you are curious about, because no matter how colorful the question, I might look into it for you. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Stay curious out there. Oh, tasty rainbow.
Eating your own vomit?
It's not vomit, it's a rainbow.
The Curiosity Desk is sponsored by Emerson College, inspiring curiosity and creative expression in all of us.